Hello, welcome to the NCGA Valent Ag Weather Outlook for December 3rd, 2016. Well, I've been putting out a lot of information, and I'm sure you've been hearing it as well, about some colder weather. The polar vortex is weakened, and I know it's sort of hard to understand because it's sort of counterintuitive, but when the polar vortex is strong, what it does is that the rotation around the poles are very strong, and it holds the cold air up to our north. When the polar vortex weakens, what it does is it allows that cold air to sag south. So the polar vortex is not all that strong right now. I'm also seeing some source regions getting colder, and what we want to do there is we want to look at how much snow is up in these cold source regions, and when cold air pools, this is one of the things that I look at. When cold air pools in these source regions, it's usually just a period of time before it sinks south. I see a transition around the corner. Now, before I get to that, let's look at the precipitation over the last 7 days. Really, two stories here. One is some snowfall over the upper Midwest, primarily North Dakota. We have some very needed and welcome rain over the southeast U.S., the most rain that has occurred in a long time. There also was some severe weather associated with that, including tornadoes. Also, some lesser amounts of precipitation over the northeast and the northwest U.S. Now, the snow is still on the ground in North Dakota. In some cases, actually a fairly significant amount of snow, over 6 inches in that region. Elsewhere, mainly confined to higher elevations or very far northern tier of the U.S. Now, in some areas, temperatures were above normal for the average last week, and I don't think we'll be seeing much of this red anymore for at least a while. I think we're going to be seeing some blue and purple next week at this time of the briefing. Okay, now, you're probably, in my briefings, every meteorologist have certain things they like to look at. I like to look at pooling cold air in winter, and you might remember I was talking about this warm air here over the North Pole. And that sort of blocked any cold air. But what you can see here is there's two sources right now that we have. We've had the Siberian, Eurasia snow and cold. I've talked about that. And that sort of worked its way into the western U.S. That's not a traditional source necessarily for the continental U.S. But now we have over Canada, where there is snow cover, we have a cold air source. Cold air is now pooling due to that snow, and it's about ready to push its way south. This is the snow-covered departure from normal, and I was a little bit surprised. I thought I'd see in this area here, the source region, that it is above normal, but right now it looks like it's actually fairly close to normal, but considering we're now in December, that's plenty enough snow to serve as a cold source of air. I talked about the Eurasia snow. Look at this blue, much above normal, and that is also a sign of possible greater chances of colder air. So we do have some cold air sources now to take a look at. So when I look ahead for the first 5 days, the mean position of the trough, the dashed red line, that is associated with the cold air pushing in. So you can see that's sort of the average. But to give you a better timing, this is on Tuesday. Here's your cold front right here. Behind it, much colder. Ahead of it, still mild. So that gives you some idea on Tuesday, and that will be pushing to the east. As we get into the temperatures here, I wanted to show you just sort of some idea on Friday here how cold it is. These are overnight lows, and you can see over the upper Midwest we have sub-zero readings, and teens cover a large part of the Midwest and the eastern section of the Corn Belt. So much, much colder air, the coldest air we've had so far this season. Now, there will be a bit of rain and a bit of snow with this front going through, but right now I don't see any real strong low pressure system. So overall, I don't think that the big story is going to be snow. It's going to be rain over the southern part of the U.S., and this will be the second very wet system. The southeast U.S. was down almost 9 to 12 inches of rain, and some areas are going to pick up 6 to 8 inches of rain with these two systems, another 4 inches, maybe 2 to 4 inches over the next 7 days as that front goes through, along with a chance of severe weather. As far as the snow forecast, this goes through next weekend, and just want to show you there is some light snow associated with the colder air, maybe in the 1 to 3 inch range, but nothing as far as real extensive snowstorms with this system. Now looking out further, this is the 6 to 10 day forecast here. You can see that the trough is still there. It's not quite as deep, so the intensity of the cold air might moderate a bit, but we're still looking at the 6 to 10 day range. The averages are well below normal, centered over the upper Midwest, and that'll be an area with the nearest this cold air source and also having snow in the ground. That's one of the reasons why the anomalies are going to be the greatest. Now, I think as we get out into the 11 to 15 day range, it's a little bit more tricky on what's going to happen. You know, for a long time, my briefings were high confidence ones, and now that we're getting into the core of winter, there's going to be a lot more variability. But this is the 11 to 15 day range, and it gradually has that upper trough straighten out. We have more west to east flow, which is generally a quieter pattern, but the models are still saying that cold air is going to linger for a while. So I'm thinking maybe a 2-week period. There'll be variations. It's going to be more intense and it's going to moderate a bit more intense. But I think for about 2 weeks, once this moves in, we're looking at an average of below normal temperatures. As far as precipitation goes, here's week 1. The green and the blue are the highest probabilities of above normal precipitation. And here is week 2. You can see the south, central, and southeast U.S. quiets down during week 2. I thought we might look at weeks 3 and 4. This is way out there, but right now, as far as the temperature probability goes, you can see that's on the left. And the precipitation, it looks like going back to dry conditions over the south central U.S., but at least these 2 rain events have really helped. Now, obviously, we're going to have some risks or hazards with the passage of this front. You can see windy conditions and much below normal temperatures shaded in blue, and then that chance of heavy rain and severe weather over the southeast U.S. So I think I've covered everything here. I think the big story here is going to be the colder air pushing in and the very heavy rain and perhaps severe weather over the southeast U.S. this week. So I think that's the story. There's my email. You know, you can always contact me if you have any questions. Hope you all have a great week. Take care.